if everything went correctly, we should be live again. I'm your host, Travis, here on League Center. We have Double Lift up in. I could go really bad with this. I could be like, with our guest Elements, the only female support player ever, according to Reddit second page.
Wow.
I'm not even going to touch Raz. I could go somewhere, but I'm not. No, of course it's going to be Drex and Raz and Kelsey Moser. I'm your host, Frostgren. I don't look nearly as good as Travis. He's got some sweet hair, but I can't pull it off. Today, we are going to be talking more about Koreans on Korean Talk, because that's all we ever talk about here. But first, we're going to break it up, and we're going to talk about third-party tournaments. We talked about before on the show, China loves third-party tournaments. Effectively, like, there's never an off-season. They never stop playing League of Legends. Partly and due to the fact that Riot doesn't control a lot of the tournaments over there. So they're able to have like a lot of fun and do a lot of different things. So we're going to talk about what GEC, NESCO, and IEF. Yeah,
NESO. National Esports Open, I think.
I'd like to say how I love the fact that, like, of course it's during the time of IEM, and it's like, it feels like Christmas because it comes like, or at least the third party tournament comes like once a year or so, or like in NA. But then it's back in China. It's like, you know what? It's another week. You know. It's just...
They just show up to the tournaments. They're just like, I don't even care.
And my favorite part is that, like, we've heard the numbers that are getting thrown around for these signing bonuses and these salaries, right? And then, like, legit, the first place prize for the National Esports Open is $25,000. So
25. Okay. All right.
That'll pay for, an arm. That'll pay for Faker's hand. Maybe just a finger, actually.
Okay.
Oh my god. It's like, I know we're not supposed to use it, but it's like a black market for Korean players. Like, we just hoard them in, and then it's like, hey, I'll trade you. I hear you got a spirit. Oh my god. Okay, let's... back up. The actual really cool thing about third-party tournaments, though, is that the rosters aren't really locked, and so these people that are really excited to see these Korean players, a lot of the time in third-party tournaments, you can see the Korean players. Like, the Demacia Cup is coming up, and it's kind of theorized that Deft may possibly start for EDG, just to, test them out, experiment, test the waters there. Of course, replacing Name. Name's getting kicked off the team. He's going to burn in hell somewhere. Well, you guys are awful. Like, you're not even laughing.
I just I mean, it's not even a funny joke because I think I've heard a lot of people actually say that seriously.
That's why it's funny, Kelsey. Yeah, I just read that thread last week. Fine. The finals. GEC, Starhorn Royal Club versus King. Shut up. I'm going to introduce it. Starhorn Royal Club, of course. Like, Uzi makes our world final, is the only player to do it twice every single time. It's just been announced that Cola is going to be replaced by Ackerman. So we can touch on that after we're done talking about King, because I know everyone has opinions on that. Maybe. King. How did King do? What did it look like? Did Uzi return defeating?
Kind of. Yeah. It wasn't, like, he did his thing.
He fed?
Yeah.
Maybe he just gets out after all these third-party tournaments.
Yeah, I mean,
he just, after tournament after tournament, he's like, I'm done. I can't carry it.
To be fair... But esports...
What? We lost Kelsey.
All right.
No, the thing in Uzi's favor, we have like, everyone kind of played really badly at GEC. Like, GEC was kind of a train wreck. Like,
okay, if everyone's playing
completely
poorly,
honest.
and then Uzi...
No. But the thing is the reason why it negatively affects Uzi when everyone is playing poorly is because Starhorn Royal Club's strategy relies on him, like, pretty much going so deep that you have to take like the entire team to pull him back out. It's like they're throwing this net as a group, and then like so if the entire team isn't on point, he's gonna feed. Like that's just the way Starhorn Royal Club plays. Like and him and Insect will always have the most kills if things go wrong because they both play like that. So Callista.
Thresh.
Thresh. Yeah, there you go.
What is wrong with us?
Callista.
Callista.
Force them back because they won't.
Oh, come on. Zero pulled out the brand, okay?
He played brand support.
Yeah, Zero played brand support in LPL. Remember? That was the same game as the Fiddlesticks game with IG.
GC. I remember the brand support in LPL.
But by the way, I just like watching Starhorn Royal Club play. It was interesting because I feel like even though Uzi, he did feed, but he played just as well as any like pretty good, like great AD carry. He just didn't live up to the Uzi standard. The one player that didn't play well, which is funny enough because it kind of comes back to the whole news about it, is Cola. I don't think Cola played all too well. He pulled out his Jax, and I'm pretty sure that was the game in which they won. But even then, he wasn't all too like convincing on it. And Sky just played absolutely phenomenal. So.
I think Drexen, your mic might be messed up again, by the way.
Yeah, did it? Oh my god, have I been talking muted the whole time again? I'm so sad. Oh well, whatever. We're just gonna roll with it.
What day? This will not happen.
I'm so sad. I'm so sad right now.
No,
okay, I didn't say anything relevant. I was just like poking jabs
at.
You
said something really relevant, and you talked about Uzi at Worlds, like that he's held. What Drexen said is that Uzi is held to a very high standard at Worlds, and so when he leaves Worlds, it's almost like he falls off in his performance when he actually doesn't, just because the caliber at which he's playing when he goes to Worlds is like Super Saiyan, and then he comes back to LPL and he like only plays at like Saiyan level, like he goes back to Goku, and people are like, man, this Goku sucks.
Yeah, and additionally, like, I just don't know. I think being in the world spotlight does something for him. But, like I was saying, is, like, it's not like he's spectacular, but he's not, like, horrible. It's just that he can't really live up to the absurd expectations. The only other thing you missed me saying was, like, being kind of derogatory in the matter of the Korean player trade market and saying they're like Pokemon cards, just, like, trading them around and, so, yeah. Nothing tasteful or important, so, yeah.
Hey, to which I made a horrible joke saying, wait a minute, Invictus Gaming's top laner doesn't have cards. And I was like, and I just like, I don't know.
Unicorns of Love has cards.
I'm so glad we restated that joke.
Focus, children.
My favorite thing about GEC though is that last year was the fabled Uzi Vayne mid game though, where he played Vayne mid against Cool's Orianna and went like 0-4. So relative to his performance at GEC last year, it was an improvement because they got to the finals. I think last year the finals were OMG versus IG.
Let's talk about King. We've talked a lot about King. Specifically, I want you guys to talk about King's... Kelsey, pull the microphone out of your nasal cavity, please. It's just her breath always falls off it. King spot lane versus Starhorn Royal Club spot lane. Because, like, for Uzi to not perform well, he's directly against that lane. And I think we can all agree that out of one of the strongest bot lanes in China would probably be Zero and Uzi. Like, their lane dominance and their contention over creeps is pretty disgusting. Like, Uzi and Zero will contest for every single minion.
Yeah.
King has really good early game coordination. Like, I think they play a lot of teams, maybe not necessarily in China or not necessarily in any region particularly, but just like a lot of teams, one problem they'll have is that they won't have as much coordination in lane. They'll have like very separated, this is my lane, this is my lane, this is my lane, and then the jungler will occasionally pay a visit. But I feel like King's early game coordination is actually really good in terms of like watching the waves and knowing when to go hard. And again, I think that's what King does really well, and that's why they're doing well in these third-party tournaments where people kind of like loosen up the mid-game and late-game control a little bit. So I think that when you're talking about King's bottom lane, you're not just fighting King's bottom lane. I think you're fighting King's top lane, you're fighting King's mid, you're fighting King's jungle. And I think Starhorn Royal Club, even though they have like this all-in mentality where they definitely are all in the bot lane ganking, like I feel like Corrin's movements bottom are not very crisp all the time. Sometimes there are miscommunications between like Insec and Zero and the rest of the team, and they want to go in using the world's one-liner. So I just think that like to Uzi and Zero's credit, there's that, but Lei is like a really good support player, so I'm excited to see him in LPL.
Yeah, Starhorn's bot lane was kind of, they were gypped really hard, only because of like a teamwork basis. Because you saw Sky in the bot lane quite a bit off of his TPs. Even like the moment Starhorn Royal Club was winning an engagement, you just suddenly see like a TP raining from the heavens, like a bright light, and you're like, all right,
Yeah.
all right.
That's another thing, is that lane was hardly like a 2v2. Like, Starhorn had so much pressure to be under, and yeah, I mean, I don't know, I just don't think Kola, like, you know, plays at the same level as Sky, honestly.
Wasn't Lei on Starhorn Royal Club when Uzi was in mid?
He used to
played
play
the-
80 carry.
Yeah.
It was really bad. But
It was.
also
We
fun,
don't
yeah.
talk about those times. Those are dark times. We don't go back
when I
there.
was first talking
Vayne
about
mid.
when I was first talking to Soldra, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm really high on King support." So like, I hadn't been watching them as much as he had, and he was like, "I'm really high on King support. I think he's really good." It's like, "Oh yeah, what's his name?" Like, I'll have to look out for him. And he said, "Lei." It's like, there has to be two Leis. Like, there has to be. Like, you remember Lei from Starhorn Royal Club? He played 80 carry for a while. He's like, no, I don't remember. And it was Royal Club Huangzu at the time anyway, so it's just... He probably selectively erased that from his memory just because of how different he is as a support player relative to as an 80 carry, so...
Yeah.
I also
And
want to
by the
say-
way, they're- Mhm, go
I just wanted to say that also, like, although Starhorn has a strong bottom lane, like, King is used to playing a really strong laning phase, because they've been, like, stuck in this, like, LSPL hell for so long. And, like, so, I mean, they've had to deal with these, like, gimmicky, like, you know, really early game pushy teams and stuff, so, I mean, any team that's, like, hailing from the actual LPL is probably not much of a problem for them, even if Starhorn is, like, you know, does a solid bottom lane.
And disregarding the team support that came out of King in the bottom lane, they're straight up 2v2. Like, like saw times in which like obviously like Uzi fed in that lane, and you're like, wait, why did that happen? And then you would rewatch the fight, and you'd realize Uzi just like took 2 tower shots, and you're like, okay. So they played out the lane relatively well, and the fight was played out perfectly. He just
Yeah.
decided to take risks.
Hashtag just Uzi, I think.
Stupid, not Caitlyn range.
It was like, okay, all right.
I love him. I remember when they used to always their mid laner in CT back in the day, and he used to always play Lulu, and Uzi would literally like be Lucian and Relentless Pursuit into 5 people, and he'd have to be wild growthed into the middle of everyone just to survive the team fight. And that used to be their strategy every single time. They're like, just send Uzi into the middle of them, throw like every shield we have on top of him, and hopefully we'll come out on top of this.
That's honestly their same strategy right now. Like,
Yeah, I was gonna say, that doesn't really change.
like, they played Janna and Oriana.
Oh god, yeah.
Valid. Okay.
yeah.
LGD versus EDG. Let's move to the next tournament on our little list. The
The
National Esports Open. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. How did LGD look? I didn't watch any of the third-party tournaments, so.
I mean, LGD, it was pretty much, like, I think it was NEST was the other game where they had a series against EDG and LGD. It was pretty similar. LGD has been looking good probably because Wayless is just, like, looking really good this offseason.
Pulled out the Ezreal mid earlier. Before Faker.
Yeah.
Oh,
I was
what? Are you
talking
telling
to
me
someone
Faker
on
doesn't play this
Twitter.
shit first? Come on.
I was talking to I think it was Hype Algerian on Twitter, and he was like, "Yeah, that Faker Lissandra pick. Like, how does Wayless feel about that?" It's like he played Ezreal mid too earlier. It's like clearly now we know where Faker gets all of his champions. No,
Faker Wayless, same person.
Faker Wayless secretly.
Oh my
the
god,
same.
dude! Now top comment's gonna be like, these idiots said Wayless is better than Faker. What are you doing, Kelsey? Come on.
Definitely Faker is. I still think Faker
Don't
is far
put
and
words
away
in my mouth.
better than Wayless because Wayless like needs to go. Like I feel like Wayless is almost the Uzi of mid lane sometimes. So
Yeah, as he dives like 6 towers.
So is Jiankun. Like,
Okay, I was
they're
just about to say
similar. I
like
feel like Wayless is slightly calmer than Jiankun.
I was about to say
Um,
like I guess we forgot
yeah,
about Yang now that he's not on the team, or at least
yeah.
not on the outfield.
Wayless is slightly calmer. He's like slightly more controlled, and his Oriana is like really good, and he's good at
His
roaming
Ari is really good.
and being selfish. Like, yeah, like his champion pool is so good right now. Like
I
Lissandra,
feel like
Ari,
Wayless is so much better at roaming and understanding like the pacing of like wave minions. When he brought up the Lissandra and the Oriana with the jungle item, so he would farm race and mini golems in between the minion waves and like get like 200 plus CS on his lane opponents. I feel like if you think about like you, he's probably the other really strong farming mid laner in China. You doesn't really leave his lane, but Wayless manages to do exactly what you does as far as like controlling the pace and the minion flow, as well as like pressuring every single other lane.
and he still out farms you because he gets Spirit of Spectral Wraith and takes all the jungle camps.
Yeah. He doesn't have a
but, yeah.
jungler; he needs it.
No, so
Come on.
Zing.
to be fair, EDG doesn't have a jungler either. They have a team fighter who comes out at the end. But
Wow.
He just spawns at the.
but
20
that's
minute
why
mark. He just
Clear
comes.
Love needs more farm than Chuen, right? Because he needs to team fight. But yeah, I think Wayless. I guess what I mean by he has to be the carry. I feel like Wayless has to be the carry. Is I guess
Not
what
when
I mean
Imp's on
by
the
it.
team.
Hey, no, yeah, exactly.
I mean that'll be really interesting to see. Actually,
Did they play with
Uh,
XQ
yeah.
and Name? So none of
Yeah.
the Koreans. Why do you think none of the Koreans? Was there just a roster lock
And
for this
roster
particular
lock,
tournament?
roster lock has been pushed back to December 10th, so I think that's when we'll see like some of the rosters come out like post December 10th. Because we hear all about all these acquisitions, but no one has actually announced a roster. Like that's one point I want to make is that we hear EDG adds Deft and Pawn, but they don't say which team they're going to. We hear Starhorn Royal Club gets Ackerman, but supposedly they bought an LSPL spot, so we don't know where he's going exactly. Like, I don't know. Dade and Looper their streams are called World Elite Academy Dade, but
Oh,
his tag
You're getting into a different
no,
section
but
of our
his
show.
tag is ME.
She's
Dade.
starting to bleed over. I can't
So
control
it's
her.
really confusing, but no. And
we're wrapping
yeah,
this up quickly. Let's just go over all
Oh
of it
my
right now,
God.
and then we're done.
20
I
minute
just
show,
wanted to
let's
make
go.
the point that we have no idea where anyone is going. Though I am
Yeah.
pretty sure Imp is going to go to the starting LGD lineup.
Which will be
Let's
a-
talk about this.
okay.
Yes, Raz. Okay,
I'll
so
just say it's going to be a good thing just because of the fact that, as we've seen, now he can actually play Lissandra without debate because he'll have a team who will make, or at least a player, I guess we can call Imp a team now, who will really follow up or just not get caught in Oriana shockwaves. I don't know. It's just now he has other damage on that team, so that's nice.
XQ.
I want you guys.
Yeah, I mean,
want
XQ.
you
Like,
guys-
this is the thing. Like, we can't
XQ,
we
okay,
can't we
XQ,
can't pretend
yeah.
that XQ is like this
Like,
bad player. XQ is like an up and rising star. I mean,
like-
Imp is better. I'm not going to deny that, but I mean,
Yeah.
I'm
Compare.
not going to say he's bad,
I
but
feel
what
like
happened?
saying
Okay.
I feel like saying that like
No,
now
Claire-
Wayless has another carry is definitely an oversimplification of XQ.
Drexen, please underline for me what are the differences between Imp and XQ, especially for people who've never probably even heard of XQ or seen XQ.
well, XQ's probably like 4 years younger, first off. But no, anyway, no. Okay, so all right, I'll just go over like the whole thing with XQ, right? Okay, so XQ replaced Styes. Everybody was upset because people really like Styes, and nobody ever heard of XQ before, really. I mean, he wasn't like a big name or anything. Comes in. People are like skeptical. He like plays Lucian over and over. Everybody's like, okay, this guy's a one-trick pony, but he does it really well. And then near the end of that split, he starts playing other champions. And after he plays all those other champions, people are like, oh, well, I guess he's actually good at multiple things. And also, this is when he was in solo queue, mostly like a Vayne player. Correct me if I'm wrong. So he's obviously always had that as a pocket pick anyway. So basically, the guy, like, I mean. Ever since he replaced Styes, like people just had like ridiculous criticism of him, and he just always showed up every single time. To the point where I'd almost say that he was probably the fastest improving player in LPL. Period. Because he started out like okay, but then like as you watched him play more and more, it was like wow, this guy could really be a world class carry, which really sucks. And I really hope he gets on an LPL team because at this race, it's like otherwise we're never going to see where he gets to. I mean, obviously Imp's the immediate upgrade, and I'm not going to make a claim like XQ would end up better than him, but XQ definitely had like the biggest growth, and I really think that he could be like a top 3 AD carry in China, like given like a split or two even. So
I always just felt that that LGD as a team really suffered in. Of course, they have Chuen. Like they probably need to do something
What's
about
wrong
that
with
at some
Chuen?
point. I feel like we talk about it way too often about what the problems of Chuen.
Just like be really quick about it. Just be like, Chuen is unfortunate because he only plays one champion and he doesn't play that champion very
That's
well.
a nice way of putting it.
Unfortunate.
Yeah,
He's an
And so-
unfortunate player for his team.
He has a really limited champion pool and he just doesn't show up big for his team.
Yeah, and so of course, when it comes to engagements too in late game team fights, he has problems in that. And so that's what it comes down. That's why there was a massive debate on what Wayless's role on LGD's team was.
Hard carrying.
Yeah, because there was a huge debate on whether his Lissandra was good or not. Because it was great, it was amazing, but Lissandra was a limiting champion in which she goes in, puts down her damage, and then she's probably gonna die because she's already in the middle of the team fight, kind of like that Diana effect, where she goes in and you're just like, all right, there goes my damage. I killed like 2 people, their carries, etc. Come on, team, do something. And then of course Chuen will die. Like their top laner's not all too good. It just felt like, and of course PYL and like their bot lane, LGD's bot lane was pretty good, but unfortunately, when it came to team fights, it just really didn't come together. Like I didn't feel like there was much teamwork or communication really coming across in that team.
And additionally, I also feel like Chuen was like initially good on his good champions, which was like 2, like Lee Sin and Kha'Zix, and like mostly just Lee Sin. But then even on those, he just like plateaued really hard. Other junglers started getting better because this was, you have to remember, like his Lee Sin was renowned in the era where like LOL Chinese jungler, like what is that kind of thing, and it's since improved, and he just hasn't been able to keep up. Like I feel like he's plateaued really hard. So that's like his main problem is like he was good enough for the team for a while, especially since people weren't like banning it out. But now, like, even if they don't ban it out, it's okay because it's not like Lee Sin is like he's like this god Lee Sin. You have to keep him off. It's just that he's like passable on Lee Sin, so you can like. So when you're like known for that champion and that's like your star champion and it doesn't even like warrant a ban, then there's problems with that player, really.
What I think is actually curious in the LGD versus EDG matchup, so EDG is very well known for their team fighting. Effectively for them, it's, don't lose Baron, win the team fight. Like, that's just the 2 steps to an EDG victory. LGD, like Raz mentioned, there seems to be some issues with coordinating team fights, but I feel like LGD's rotations and some of their strategy as far as calls are actually really advanced, particularly for the LPL region. Like watching Starhorn Royal Club and LGD, I always loved watching those 2 teams face off because it was almost like the polar opposites of each other. You have Starhorn Royal Club, who's all about like the aggression and the team fighting and just getting in your face, and LGD would be able to kind of hold them off for a bit because they would just kind of outmaneuver them. And I think that has a lot to do with the veteran shot calling from PYL. And Kelsey, you've made the comment in the past that, finally Imp's going to not have Mata. And so it's kind of like nut up or shut up. Like, how good is Imp really without the best support kind of holding his dick for him in the lane? But he technically has, like, the Mata of China. Not saying that, like, PYL had the same skill level as Mata, but he definitely feels the same role as being the shot caller, the captain, the leader for his team.
Yeah, and he's also very good mechanically, which I think is the key point. Like, I think his approach to, I don't know, his AD carry partner in lane might be slightly different from Mata's, or maybe it's the same. Like, if you watch the videos where Mata's like, oh, he's not very good, I have to do everything for him. Apparently, PYL is very similar with XQ. So, and Imp supposedly has said that he got better offers from other teams, like in terms of money, but he wanted to join LGD because of PYL, probably because he saw it as like a similar.
That's exactly what Wayless said too. Like Wayless joined LGD because of PYL.
That team is so screwed if that guy ever leaves.
I know, right?
We get these talented players joining LGD because of PYL, pretty much. So.
Let's not forget that LGD almost qualified for Worlds. They took OMG to 3 games and they barely lost it between I'm trying to remember their top laner's name. Like that guy's just so forgettable.
17.
Is it? I was like number 1. No, that's Young Glories at 17 and Chuen. Like you have
names?
Wayless sandwiched in between. Like not that 17's awful. He's just really nothing compared to the scene. Like I feel like that guy has 0 impact.
Unless he's like on Jax or something, because LGD does kind of know how to split push, but yeah, other than that, I guess he's not the greatest.
You know who they need? Yongsu.
Cola.
Cola.
That would be an upgrade, honestly.
It would.
Yeah.
It would be an upgrade.
It would.
I mean, do we want to talk any more about LGD versus EDG?
I mean.
So LGD took a game, not a surprise. EDG constantly loses lower tier teams once in a while, like whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's the same. Like I said, I pretty much watched the NEST games. It's the same kind
Do
of
we want
stuff.
to talk about OMG's lineup in?
Yeah, we can talk about it. I could be in pain for the next five
We're going to talk about Dota
minutes.
7. And we're going to be like, before we talk about Dota 7, we're going to be really clear. Dota 7 has had multiple instances on OMG to perform over different various time periods. You know, he
Well
always has,
over a year and a half now, I think.
yeah, he has
Close
like
to.
these
Yeah,
screens.
even made appearances in 2013 LPL Spring. I think when they had like Loveling on support. So
And he always fails to perform. And so this is why we are so hard on Dota 7. We don't just hate him, we don't just flame him. Historically, he has never been anything but a detriment to that team statistically.
yeah, and I mean he played in like to the claim that he only plays League of Legends for San because San wants him to play with him.
Oh god.
He played an entire split on Positive Energy without San. Like, I don't know. I just think that that's a claim that isn't really found. It doesn't seem likely or isn't founded necessarily in evidence.
That's what I don't like about this whole thing. Like, there's a lot of like Dota 7 like defense, but it's like, oh, he's only playing because San, and otherwise he'd be like this god
They have
tier
20
dungeon fighter
supports on their
online pro
roster.
and all this other stuff. And it's like, yeah, that's true. I guess it's a sacrifice he had to make, but these are like, it's very clearly cognizant choices he's making himself. Like, it's not just like the selfless act.
Yeah, and you can make the argument, and there are rumors that San is like, no, I want to play with Dota 7, like, and he's very, and he doesn't almost make an effort to get along with some of his bottom lane partners because he is like so good with Dota, so much good friends with Dota 7, and this is another
good,
rumor.
good save, good save.
And this is
Yeah.
another rumor that goes around, so it's like you can pick one, right? And either one is probably wrong in some ways and right in some ways, and like could probably get to front page of Reddit in a self post in some ways. But I mean, so you
If
can make
OMG
either
wants to
so
win,
either
they
San
cannot
like,
play Dota 7.
either San has to grow up or like Dota 7 is selfless, like make your decision.
You know, it's actually funny because I always make a case for San actually being pretty good and like not deserving the hate he makes and how he always shows up when it actually matters. And even if he's not this god tier 80 carry, he's always really good. But at the point where you're like, you know, I don't want my team to be better. I'm friends with someone like that's the point where I'd consider replacing someone. I mean, there's a sea full of talent over there. It's not like he's like a
XQ.
special snowflake. Yeah, there you go. I mean, there is replacements. Don't get me wrong. I like San, but if this is like the thing that's holding the team back, that's actually really disappointing because
And
I mean the disparity is obvious. Like literally, it's hard to have a side by side comparison, and then it was just handed to us at Worlds. It's like, oh, you saw this guy in groups. Now watch Cloud in playoffs. It's like it's not like it's like hearsay or anything like that. Like the evidence is right there. You saw the games like almost back to back. I mean, come on.
And you can make and then the thing about San and Dota 7,
Wait,
people always ask, why don't they kick San, right? Because, like, there are better 80 carries. We can defend San. Like, I defend San a lot. I think he's, like, carried the team in instances, and he's, like, very good at Kog'Maw. But, obviously, there are better 80 carries in the region, and OMG has star talent in every role except, like, the bot lane. Unless Loveling is playing support or Cloud is playing support. But so the question is, why don't they just get rid of San? And the answer is, again, because OMG is like the Cloud9 almost, where they're all friends, and part of their strength is that they like get along and respect each other really well, and you don't have like these internal conflicts that much. You can tell when there are supposedly internal conflicts in OMG just because they aren't playing very well at all. Like, so I think part of their strength is just that they know how to play with each other.
The power of friendship.
Yeah, unfortunately,
Yeah.
friendship
Go
doesn't
that
win
far.
tournaments. Like, I mean, like
I
the
wouldn't
thing is,
go that far, but
in some
yeah.
cases, you can make an argument that perhaps like it does influence performance because a lot of teams, like if they don't get along, they're just gonna like slump because they don't want to play with each other. Like it's clearly the bonus they get from friendship isn't worth the disparity of like skill they have when they're with like pretty much any other support, be it Cloud or Loveling. And it's
Right.
like, yeah, I understand that like they're trying to be this like happy-go-lucky like family kind of deal or whatever, but it's like very clearly not working out for them. And it's like how can you just like be okay with that? I mean, yeah, San wants it, but like I'd be surprised if the other people on his team aren't upset about it, you know?
TLDR, I'll give them Sand for that. Like, I'll go so far as saying, like, okay, the synergy they have with Sand might be worth, like, changing, might be better than if they traded him out for, like, a mechanically better AD carry, but not Dada 7. Like, I won't give them Dada 7 because obviously there's, like, a distinct difference even when, like, Cloud is supposedly, like, initiating into Starhorn Royal Club and losing them games. Like, there's still a big difference between him and Dada 7.
Yeah.
We didn't even touch on the fact that they didn't start cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, Xiang was in the mid lane. I guess that
Just don't gank him, boys. We're good.
Okay, I'm gonna quick spark notes the history of Xiang. If you remember All Stars, you remember this guy, the Syndra player, possibly one of the best Syndra players, or at least at the time was one of the best Syndra players in the region, was the MVP of LPL. It was when OMG had a dominating record. I think it was like 23 and something ridiculous, like 23-3 or something was the record. And people were like, this guy's supposed to be a big deal. The thing was, when Xiang came to power in OMG, it was during the 4v0 meta, which... Sorry, All-Star Desk. The 4v0 started in China. They've been doing that for a very long time, way before All-Stars. And so you had a mid laner who did not know how to deal with jungle pressure go to All-Stars and suddenly got ganked, and he fell apart at the seams. And Xiang has, like...
ganked by Bengi. Like,
yeah, it was bad.
All Bengi does is camp mid anyways.
Not to mention, this guy was MVP,
Kind of like being
MVP in China, like all the
thrown
weeks
in the
prior
hot
to
oil.
All Stars. So it's like he was getting away with this for a long time, and you could almost make a legitimate case that he was like a really good replacement for Cool until that like vulnerability was exposed. So
Yeah, and EDG was actually famously the first team that kind of like banned out all of his mid lane champions and just ganked him mid.
You mean
Like,
all two of them?
even Clearlove can do it. Woo. Yeah. Okay. No.
Like so Jarvan. Clear love approved.
So yeah, I mean Xiang. The thing, first of all, just before everyone says, "Oh, it's confirmed," Cool is going to another team. Xiang is starting mid. I think it's just because Cool is currently not under any contract at all.
Yeah.
And he can decide on a bid from someone else, and OMG can still match that bid. So I think that's what's taking a while, because like Vici Gaming's CEO said like a week ago already that I think Cool is really close to signing with us, but I feel like a lot of people want him, so it's still hard to make a claim that he's going to go anywhere definitively.
OMG's players have been playing together forever. A lot of them,
Right.
some of them even before playing League of Legends. Like, to see Cool separated, like you guys just got done saying, you know, OMG, the power of friendship, the Cloud9
Right, yeah.
of LPL, and now Cool's like, fuck this shit. I'm going to VG Gaming.
Times change. I mean, we see it now in EU where Expeke is leaving Fnatic along with, like, once you realize that something's not working, or at least like you've done it for a long time. Like OMG has gone to Worlds in season 3, season 4, and they've had problems, and it feels like
All
nothing's
stars.
all stars, and it just feels like nothing's getting resolved. They always come in like at a disadvantage, maybe like through organizational problems. Like for instance, they have its support, which they shouldn't have that support, or like they just have a new mid laner coming in, and it just feels like that mid laner. Like I guess it should be general, like Xiang and Data 7 coming into tournaments in which they're relatively new. I mean, it just doesn't feel like once you get that familiarity, once it feels like the players start feeling like they won't have much success if they continue on the same path, they'll probably just head elsewhere. And it feels like Vici Gaming is that new entity that has a lot of potential. And I do feel like Cool will end up signing. That's just my opinion, though.
This is my one thing, though, that I want to make about Vici Gaming. Everyone's hyping up Vici Gaming because it's supposed to have Matza, Vasily, Dandy, supposedly Cool, and then throw whoever you want to the top lane at that point. Like, everyone looks
Carry.
at that team, and they say, this is an all-star team.
well, PDD might be coming back.
This is
I
not,
think they're going to stay with Carrie. Carrie's pretty good.
Carry is
not
nice,
to
yeah.
discredit any of these players, but so few fans recognize communication and personalities and how teams work together. Millennium, I think, is probably a perfect example that you can't just, like, stack a roster and walk into something with it. Like, not saying that Horo was of the Dandy caliber, but, I mean, Ryu is, like, he's a good player, and I don't know. That's just my thing. I feel like people don't realize that, you know, shit can go wrong in teams. Like, you can't just look at a base skill level and be like, that's gonna dominate everything. Things can go wrong. When Millennium probably made that dive on the Alistar bottom when they started to really just kind of fall apart to the Giants, there was probably a moment of just dead silence on the comms.
Yeah.
Like, I can
think-
just imagine that just, like, tilting really hard.
The thing is that I made the comment when Starhorn Royal Club made finals, that this is going to completely change like the fabric of the way that people approach team building in 2015 for League of Legends. Like people are just going to say, "Oh, if they can make it to the finals with language disparity, then like anyone can." But I don't know. I think myself and several other people have made the point that Starhorn Royal Club worked because like Insec and I think Uzi have this weird synergy in that they play very similarly, and like Insec was almost made for China, right?
Hmm.
In the way that he likes to play anyway. So, and then Zero turned out to be like this support player who was very good at adapting to just like protecting his AD carry and doing nothing else. And he doesn't have to do necessarily anything else. So that's a boon for the fact that they don't communicate that well. Is that, oh, I just have to like follow up Uzi and that's all I have to do.
Yeah.
And so I just like, and their warding, like we've talked about their warding, like where Dandy and Mata are very famous for their warding, but Starhorn Royal Club warding isn't very good. So if you talk about like, is that a communication thing? I don't know. So,
I mean, if they're both on the same team on Starhorn, though, that kind of
Yeah,
alleviates
and
the
I've-
issue, luckily.
I
Yeah,
will
I've
say
made that point, but-
the new jungle going in, like the fact that it's much more methodical and like slower pace. I think that jungle's made for Dandy. Like I think Dandy's gonna excel in the 4.20 jungle just above and beyond because it's so much more punishing if you don't have efficient pathing. Like it's so much more punishing just
Yeah.
because they increase the timers between the camps. So you can't just like fuck up a gank and then walk to your wraith camp because it's up again and just like start your rotation over. Like if you fuck up a gank and then you try to go back to your jungle and you don't time that correctly, you're like, oh, I guess I'm gonna stand here for 45 seconds.
Yeah,
Or,
no, it's
like,
bad,
oh,
and I mean,
guess
it's
I'm gonna die to the camp.
it's far more cerebral. Like all of your decisions, including just what camp you smite, even, and has like huge implications on your performance. So, I mean, that's what I'm kind of worried for Insec in this new jungle, honestly.
I know,
To be
right?
honest with you, like I don't feel like it's a good change for him.
Anyway, back to OMG and their
What?
roster.
OMG? We just talked about OMG's roster.
No, I just
want
wanna
to gaming.
All I want to say is that I think, well, we're still talking about third-party tournaments generally, I think.
Okay.
We haven't touched on IEF at all. But I just wanted to close
Touch
that
on
out.
that,
I want to say,
starts.
I think it'll be really interesting to see how Loveling does with Xiong, if it ends up being Xiong instead of Cool. Because again, like their synergy is between Loveling and Cool is so tight that it's almost detrimental. And I see Xiong and Loveling struggling to find like that rhythm, especially since Cool tend to be like very map heavy and Xiong just like sits in his lane. So I don't know. It'll be interesting.
But haven't we always said that the problem with you and Clearlove being on the same team is that they don't,
Yep.
like, Clearlove doesn't leave his jungle and you doesn't leave his lane, and so you just need to have one or the other. Like, you need to have the Messiah or you need to have the Loveling. And effectively, Xiong's filling the exact same role that you would, except
Yeah.
he plays more of assassin style versus mage style. So isn't this exactly what we wanted to see? You take a very, map pressure heavy jungler and you stick him with a stagnant lane dominating mid and just see how that works out.
Yeah,
It could definitely work because I'd argue that Xiong usually has more kill potential too in lane versus you. Mostly just because of like champions they're forced upon, not because you is a worse assassin player or anything like that. But
And perhaps in the new jungle, or at least just after China decides to finally get into the preseason patch, because that would be interesting. I think the IEF was in preseason patch. I couldn't watch that one. But it feels like if you have that combination, you'll be punished less for it. I think laning in the mid lane is a little better. I'm not sure yet. I can't really.
LeBlanc
comment
is
on that.
coming back, and LeBlanc was a huge staple for Xiong.
Yeah,
Is
LeBlanc
that?
played Xiong.
I just hope Cool
Xiong
stays,
played
honestly. But yeah,
That
that
was-
is true. I still think Cool's
I
better.
think-
But
I think it could almost work okay, just because I think Loveling's natural jungle style is doing the invades and 1v1ing the enemy jungler, and I think that Xiong might always, if he's able to lane well and he has like a bigger champion pool, he's been playing some Orianna okay, like stuff like that. If he doesn't get banned out and he's able to dominate his lane, then I think like having that pressure always there instead of Cool like running around and hanging out in bottom lane could actually help make Loveling like the way he naturally wants to be, which is a carry style jungler. So it'll be interesting.
IEF. IEF is a tournament it's effectively Korea versus China, but they take the bottom Chinese teams and the bottom Korean teams. So I think it was Zenith Prime, Puya Tigers, and
Incredible Miracle.
okay, IM. And then it's Positive Energy, King, Energy Pacemaker.
EG Future.
Yeah, that was it.
EDG Future, I think.
Oh,
right?
EDGF, yeah. And I think it was, what, 6-2 in favor of Koreans?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, King and EDGF won their games on the first night. Even I say the first night, but EDGF's game was rescheduled for the second night. And then all the Chinese teams lost their games on the second night. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was a little concerned with Incredible Miracle beating King. I don't know about that.
I'm concerned by the fact that that tournament was kind of a train wreck. Like, I don't know. There were tech issues throughout the entire thing, and I just...
Stop making excuses for
I'm
the
not
Chinese
making
players.
No
Kelsey,
Johns,
I'm not-
Kelsey.
I'm not making excuses
No
for
Johns.
I'm not making excuses for the Chinese players, but I feel like also on the same note, like Xenix shouldn't have lost to EDGF either. Let's be completely honest. I feel like they shouldn't have lost to EDGF.
Yeah, it was a weird tournament.
So-
for sure.
It's what patch was it played on?
420,
Okay,
420.
so preseason patch.
Yeah.
and just there
Ridiculous
was the,
start times. I'm shocked that there wasn't more upsets either way, like, in all honesty.
the night before last. They had like EDGF and Xenix Storm were in a game, and they played for like 10 minutes, and then like Ray disconnected from EDGF, and
Yeah.
then their bot lane disconnected, and then they just like, and then the casters were talking after everyone disconnected for like an hour or something, just chatting on the desk, and then it was pretty much like, oh, the players have all left the building because it was 1 a.m. in China by that time because of all the delays.
Mhm.
So it was just like, okay, this
Yeah.
is going well.
I mean, it's like
But
it was kind of meh. I'm just glad it's happening again because, like, man, I Stars War was one of my favorite tournaments back in like season 2, and like this is the first time we've had another China versus Korea battle really since then. Even if the teams aren't all like super high caliber like they were, but well, back then they also had like Southeast Asia, but that was back when Southeast Asia was obviously a lot stronger.
That's exactly why I was so disappointed, right? Like, I wanted to
Yeah.
see more exciting interregional Asian tournaments. So
It's pretty funny too because apparently Boss Wang, the owner of Invictus Gaming, doesn't comment on his Weibo. I think I got this information from like it's on Inside China Lol, but like yeah, he doesn't comment much on his Weibo, like maybe 3 times a year, and like he commented about like how IEF was a terribly like a horrible tournament or something, or how bad it was, and I was like, oh okay, so that's when you know something was bad. Was that
When the Invictus Gaming boss comes out of hibernation.
on the plus side, those coffee and
Oh my god.
come
If
on,
you ever want to watch a 10-minute commercial.
like
That-
the
it never ended.
Coffee takeaway.
It never ended, and you just like
This is
I
my
still
favorite
have
commercial.
the theme of the coffee commercial stuck in my head. 'cause
Raz like woke up this morning, he's like, you know what I really want? Coffee takeaway.
They were making those like fancy coffees with like the raspberry sauce or whatever and the whipped cream, and then the girls would just like look so happy. And
yeah,
At least they're switching it up. Like when I go watch LPL VODs, like it's like if before we had the English cast anyway, it was just like literally KFC commercials 24/7. It was like holy shit. And they always had menu
yeah,
items
on
that
the
we don't have, and it
VODs,
was very
and like
depressing.
there was always that juice girl. But the
Yeah.
thing is that these are Tencent like sponsors, right? This is a different tournament, so yeah.
I got super excited watching IEM yesterday, and it showed the Gigabyte soundboard commercial, but it was in English because I like obviously syncing up the video for LPL. It shows that commercial like every single time, and I saw it, I was like, oh my god, it's gonna show the sound core right now, and then in like 2 seconds it's gonna switch to a feed of like a game because that's how we would sync up. We'd always be like, hey Pyra, are you on the sound chip? Yeah, I'm on the sound chip. Okay, so you're looking at the guy like putting the soundboard. Yeah, okay, we're on it. It was like just an instantaneous flashback, except I could read it this time. It was awesome. Okay, I don't think we need to go more into IEF, which means that we can actually start talking about the only thing that people tend to care about for the show these days, which is the rumor mill. Let's start with one team rule. So obviously, and it was funny too, because we just had that episode where we were talking about, like, do you think Lace will ever implement it? Do you think, like, people just, like, there's no pressure to implement it because people just don't know? Because a lot of people didn't realize that there were, multiply own sister teams in like the same league still for LPL, and obviously the one remaining since Young Glory got kicked out is World Lead Academy into World Lead. And so the very first response, at least from the Western community, was, oh, it's a low impact rule because it only impacts World Elite Academy or World Elite because they have to sell off one of their teams. Kelsey, Jackson, Raz?
I do want to say that I think it's the rule is one team for LPL and one team for LSPL, right? You can still have two teams.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make that distinction because it's the same way in Challenger, but I also just want to remind people that like LSPL is not Challenger. There's tournaments. There's like TGA before LSPL to get in. It's literally secondary pro league. But yeah, so it's one team per each. But yeah, no. The thing is that even if the teams, the sister teams of other existing LPL squads aren't always anywhere near as relevant or as good or anything like that, it's still a spot to like house players in this like big trading player market that's going on, and that's essentially what a lot of people are using it for, unfortunately, is like this like backup like storage bin of players on their other rosters. So what this means is that they probably can't they probably can't do that so much anymore, but at the same time it's not.
Wait.
I don't
the
feel like it's the
balls-
biggest deal because of LS, because I mean they could still have an LSPL team, so
But
And
the
they do,
balls
yeah.
of World Elite. So literally, the one team rule was announced, and then like the very next day, World Elite's like, and we just acquired Spirit.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah,
wait,
that's the lead
I was
up there.
So confused.
You have to think though that like the deal is
Obviously, it
going
had
through
been
for
in,
months.
like-
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then they're just like now able to announce it. Like that's the thing though, is that all these teams are acquiring so many Koreans, and people are like, this is a low impact rule. But if you care about the Korean players, which a lot of people do, like a lot of people are tuning into Chinese tournaments now because they want to see Koreans, right? Is then like this rule kind of screws them over a little bit because if organizations. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, if
It screws them over a lot.
so many organizations like EDG, World Elite, Invictus Gaming, supposedly are all acquiring more than just 4 Koreans. And that's like all they can effectively play on their starting lineups. And then we talked a couple episodes ago, I think, about like a marketing ploy where some teams want to have one all Chinese team and one team with like 2 Koreans. So in that case, it's limited even more. So then like these Korean players effectively become like streaming. I don't want to use the
Cattle.
word slave. Well, I was gonna. I don't know which is worse. But
oh my god.
streaming. They effectively become like streaming moguls, I guess, for the organization, where they're like generating money with the streaming contract for the organization, and they're not coming to China to compete, which a lot of these Koreans, we have to imagine, came to China because they want to compete. Like that's supposedly the thing that makes them so attractive in terms of the Korean mentality, is that they want to be the best. They don't care as much about money. The money, of course, is nice and can make them leave Samsung, but it's just like this idea that these Korean players might not necessarily get teams. We're already are wondering like what is going on with Kakao, where will he go? Like that's already in jeopardy. Just these, I think the Korean players end up like getting the worst deal in terms of this acquisition. And
Yeah.
and the issue is I think it was probably implemented because these Chinese organizations were buying so many Korean players and reselling them, because you could, in theory, like infinitely acquire a bunch of Koreans and have like a lot of different teams and get into LSPL and get into LPL, and like this was the end goal, so there was no like limit. But now there's going to be less demand for these Korean players, so some of these Korean players are going to get sold for like less than they were originally brought over for, probably. So that's probably why the rule was implemented. Like I would imagine that, but it just sucks in the short term. And it was good that it was implemented now before it got like ridiculously out of
It's
hand.
pretty out of control
I
right
mean,
now.
but
the World Elite
You can
alone.
like just imagine like if they waited until next year when they had bought like the next generation of like Koreans from OGN. Like
It gets.
I mean, it
ridiculous,
would
yeah.
get so
Give us the new
much
Samsung team.
worse.
We'll take them. All
Like,
of them.
Like, yeah, World Elite alone
So-
has like Old P, Sin, Spirit, Ninja, and by the way, like
Con.
yeah, Khan. They have Looper, Dade, and it's still listed that they have Mickey, but that's not a thing anymore. And I
We
just
have
love,
like 8 Koreans.
yeah, and it's really funny because they actually have like 4 junglers. Is Ruo still a jungler? Ruo's playing top lane now, right?
But I don't think he's on World Elite anymore. Like
Okay.
I think World Elite has gotten Rua, I think I've gone on a rant, has like almost played for a team like 4 times in the past year.
All right, yeah.
You know the best
Yeah,
thing about this like World Elite like housing the most Koreans of any team is how they're like this grassroots like crowd-funded organization that like Chinese fans like gave because they're so popular. They're just like we're just gonna buy a lot of Koreans and like
I feel like they just had that epiphany because I remember there was an article in which the World Elite, like, Coach Roner was talking about, like, oh man, it's just making the situation like in the scene just really, I wouldn't say toxic, but like horrible. In which, like, of course, the streaming markets are just making players like cost way too much, etc. And then they just end up like buying the most Korean players out there, and I'm like, okay.
Explain.
And my
okay, I want
favorite
you to
part,
touch
on
my
it.
absolute favorite part is the president of Lace is King, who is the owner slash manager of World Elite.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound.
seems fair.
That doesn't
just-
sound fishy.
It's just weird. Like, so
It
the
is.
question is now, like, are they going to? Is our like our brothers or whatever of the World Elite staff members going to start buying teams? Like, I don't know. Sort of.
This is what I want you guys to clarify, because a lot of the questions were like, how is World Elite, Drex, you touched on it a little bit, how is World Elite affording these Korean players? Because obviously everyone recognizes that like Vici Gaming, EDG, Invictus Gaming, they're all backed by very rich men and very powerful men in China. But World Elite, like Drex said, is completely fan, like, and this, to give you a scope then of like how crazy, I'm not going to say crazy, how passionate World Elite fans are about their team, the fact that they're getting enough money from fans to like acquire enough sponsorship money to buy the amount of Koreans that they have. Like, can we just use that as like a
People are just
scale
throwing the money.
system?
It's not even just that. They're also doing like they're doing like a school thing in China where people can like train and
Yeah,
stuff.
I know, they
and
built,
so,
like, an academy.
Yeah, they built like an actual
There's-
academy. It's like holy
Yeah.
shit.
There are a few caveats to that. One is that they obviously still have like the most popular players in League of Legends history who supposedly are still under the World Elite banner and giving them money from like their streaming contracts. So we hear these numbers from like Xiaomei, Weixiao, and Messiah like pulling in all of this money for streaming contracts, but supposedly like because they're still under the World Elite banner, a lot of that actually goes to the organization, like a majority of it. But obviously that doesn't cover like $1 million players or anything. But then there's also the fact that they do a lot of merchandising. They have like some of the biggest sponsors like iRox, Gigabyte, like all this really good stuff. And then they have supposedly there have been recently in the League of Legends world like some very wealthy investors who are putting money into some of the bigger teams, and World Elite is one of them. So
They should just rename their team Kickstarter.
That's
I'm
actually
just
kind of a
saying
funny
that, like-
comparison because it really is like just a
I
massively
don't want to
overly
go
successful
into
Kickstarter.
I don't want to go into too much on these investors, but like it's pretty obvious that there are some people throwing some money around.
Some people, you say.
Yeah.
But they're not allowed to get the one rule, Kelsey. They're not allowed to.
That's why I don't want to get into this because
you don't want to get into.
I don't know enough to like to actually like knock this down or anything. So I don't want to say anything that might be misconstrued as me saying.
See, we
that,
have
like,
on gamers and we have esports heaven, and Mike's now looking over at Kelsey, and Kelsey's looking over at Mike, and they're just like, "There's a story here." Mike, beat you to it.
Already starting the article.
I know. Mike's like,
Look.
"Quick, gotta mute."
Like 1,000 words in already. Yeah.
But yeah, so there's that. But so I think World Elite does have some backing from some folks now.
Sure, it's not like strictly crowdfunded, but in the like just in the sense that they're able to support so much off the crowdfunding that they
the
receive
fact
is
that-
insane.
Yeah, the fact that they're not owned by someone who
I just wanted to speak to the
is a
fact that
billionaire.
World Elite, like people in the West, they don't understand how popular this team is. Like everyone understands like TSM, but like World Elite is crazy.
You don't have a name though. Like you can't say W. Well, I guess you can say WA, but
A lot of people say, like, technically they rebranded themselves as Team WE instead of Team World Elite, but they can go by whatever. Like, that's technically the official branding. I call them World Elite because they're World Elite. Like,
and it sounds
sorry.
cooler. Like, come on.
Yeah, Team WE sounds lame. And yeah, when they started, they were World Elite. Like, I mean, you shouldn't use that rule for everything, because otherwise you'd still be calling like League like Clash of Fates or whatever. But for some things it works out.
Especially since the acronym is still the same. So
Let's talk about, since we're all on World Elite, we can talk about Dade and Looper, because effectively they've been, I guess, streaming or playing with the tags Me, and Me is one of the World Elite. So you have World Elite Academy, then you have Little Me, which is kind of disappointing, I think, because Me, their mid laner Oranges,
Yeah.
was supposedly really good. Like, obviously not like Dade good, but you don't want Dade on like a little LSPL. I think they just qualified for LSPL, yeah?
Yeah.
my understanding is especially because their stream titles are World's Elite Academy Dade and World's Elite Academy Looper, like Wea, but their in-game tags are Me, is that they were probably bought under the idea that they would join World Elite Academy, which, I mean, Khan and Ninja probably could use upgrades, so it's like fine. But then what happens to Old B? No one knows. Like, all these questions. But anyway, the issue is that oh yeah, I said Ninja. I meant Chie. But the thing is that now that this one team thing has been announced, like, they don't want to. They have to like effectively sell or get rid of World Elite Academy. In theory, if they're being compliant, so that means that they don't necessarily want to give them Looper and
Do you have
Dade.
any inkling who's going to buy that spot?
So they're probably.
And
gonna
then
get
here's
shot.
my other question. So World Elite Academy has a spot in LPL. Obviously, World Elite needs to sell off the team because they can't have two teams in LPL. Do you guys have any idea what organization is going to step up if the roster retains the spot? Because, I mean, effectively for Vici Gaming, that roster didn't retain its spot. It retained to the corporation. But since the corporation is selling, like, do you understand what I'm asking? Does
Yeah.
anyone have any, like, light on how this is going to go down and who's possibly going to end up with that?
I haven't heard anything at all about what's happening with World Elite Academy. I think that's like the major question mark, right? The other major question mark for me with this is that supposedly organizations like OMG and Starhorn Royal Club bought not just an LSPL spot, but supposedly multiple LSPL spots to field like new teams. So
Yeah.
I guess they're just out some money. I don't know.
That's I mean, that's just what it comes down to. It's like a really awkward situation because this stuff happened pretty close together in a timeline. It was like, they decided to buy all these LSPL spots, and it was like, I think a week or two after for the most part. I mean, granted, these plans are probably in motion for a while, but like, they announced it and then they were like, nope, one team per, like, LPL and LSPL, and it's like, ooh, ouch.
So like, who's going to get the spots is the ultimate question.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm
which
thinking-
could be very exciting.
Yeah, it could be. Could be pretty.
Could
nice,
be, but it could also be extremely disappointing, so it kind of swings
Yeah.
either way.
Yeah.
XQ. Rising stars on the rise. What do we have? Vici announced their... Let's just talk about all the acquisitions. Vici Gaming, Snake, Pawn was officially announced. Beast and Ella.
Beast and
Ackerman.
yeah. Who are those guys? Do
I
we
think
know them?
Beast was on Big
There's-
File Miracle. I don't know who Ella is.
And Ella is from like an NLB team. I don't remember which one. But
Oh,
I'm sure Anne Prague would be able to tell us. Because she watches like all of the NLB
But
games.
Snake is supposed to be a
Very
higher
wealthy?
caliber... Well, very wealthy, but... Okay, so you're a very wealthy organization. You didn't buy S tier. Maybe they'll buy them from World Elite. Maybe the trade will go on. We don't know
Yeah.
yet. But they didn't, initially buy S tier Korean talent. And then the fact that Snake already kind of has a reputation of being a very strong team. So
They
it's not
don't-
like they're...
Isn't it for their secondary team? Or am I wrong?
Is it? Do they have
It
multiple
could be
teams?
for their. It could be for their secondary team.
Yeah.
It could be for Snake VG because
That's
they
what
just
I
bought
thought.
Vici Gaming's.
Okay.
They just bought Vici Gaming 2, right? After Vici Gaming 2.
I feel like we
Yeah.
need a
for LSPL.
a
We should-
spreadsheet or like
that
a...
would like a. You can't even make an infographic. This is like too much.
it gets ridiculous. But yeah, Snake GV does need a shakeup probably, and they will get some players, I think.
Yeah.
And there's so many like Korean players on the market. I feel like it's gonna find a way on Snake's hands because Snake has like a lot of money and they're willing to spend it. They really are, because they know their own. They know their
Then buy
weaknesses as a team.
some higher level players. I'm not saying anything against Beast and Ella. I don't really know anything about them, but I mean, this isn't. If they have a
lot can
ton of
happen in
money,
3 days.
like
A lot can happen. Yeah. and World Elite has a lot of players in their storage room. I don't know.
Storage room, oh god, they're just like in a freaking like
Koreans huddling for warmth and like
they're just like locked in a garage
somewhere.
somewhere. It's so bad.
I feel like this show dehumanizes me. Anyway,
Oh man, this is
I'm
bad.
just imagining them in their cute little like sweaters with like the New
Oh,
York
God,
Yankee
please.
logos on it.
Oh man.
That's bad.
Did we cover everything as far as acquisitions? Do you guys want to say anything
I, mean, we
else
didn't-
about this?
I did want to touch on this point because we're mentioning the Snake second team, and we talked briefly about Ackerman being acquired by Star
Oh,
Remote Club.
Ackerman.
Yeah.
Is that, again, no rosters have actually been announced. But
December 10th.
but so we just know that organizations are buying players, so we don't know actually how these lineups will shake out exactly yet. That said, the Vici Gaming roster stuff is like really huge, and I think something that's sort of skirting under the radar, which I think should be the biggest deal, is Home went to Vici Gaming as a coach.
All right. Yeah. Oh my god. What like Samsung White, basically Chinese now.
It was a buy one get one free.
They just got
Basically, I mean they are
Can we
really seriously. Oh my god.
Okay, we'll take the support, the jungle, and can you throw in the coach? Thanks.
But
Oh my
just
God.
like the fact that that's it, like you have in theory the best minds of Samsung White. Obviously, we don't have like the necessarily like head coach, but like Hom I think was one of the head coaches. I don't remember.
They probably got him like 50% off.
I'm very, 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 very bad at knowing anything about Samsung's infrastructure in terms of coaching staff.
And that's what really kind of confuses me. I feel like Vici's just, they're kind of not really digging deep, and it's like a hard generalization to make. But I feel like they just kind of say, oh yeah, Home, that's their coach.
Yeah, I
And
thought
he's their
Reach
former player.
was the head coach,
They
but I'm not
could've-
sure.
I think it was Reach.
Anyway,
They should have
Yeah.
gone for Reach, but I guess it was just like star power, name power. Home is a larger name, or at least in League of Legends. So they just got him, and I don't know if that's a good idea because I feel like Samsung as an organization or as a team was a lot more structured, and not more structured, but they were structured around their head coach. And I'm pretty sure it's Reach. I'm gonna check anyways, just because I've made these mistakes before.
But we've been
but
saying in the
Samsung, but
past.
Home is like very close in terms of a coach to Samsung White because he used to be a player, right, on
Yeah.
Ozone.
True.
So he's like very much involved with that team, very much involved with those players. So I think that he should probably get a lot of credit.
Okay.
So.
But we've been saying for a long time, like, I think this show is probably one of the bigger advocates. Obviously, no one's going to not want S-tier Korean talent flooding into their scene. But we've always said that they don't necessarily need the Korean players because the China player base is so large that they need the Korean coaches. They need, like, structure behind these teams.
And not even necessarily the Korean coaches, but just like to understand their secret craft, which maybe the only way to do that is to buy them. So I don't know.
It certainly sounds like it's the easiest way lately.
Yeah, there have been like supposedly there are rumors that people who are looking at acquiring Heart might actually buy him as a because Vici Gaming is looking to sell Heart and Sketch already, like after buying them. That people might actually get Heart as a coach instead of a player.
Yeah, apparently Choi is the coach for. The coach for Samsung, and Reach is the coach for Najin. That makes a lot more sense.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
never mind. I got this completely mixed up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is why I said I don't know anything about the coaching infrastructure in Korea. Please forgive me.
You better start because it's coming over.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm severely underqualified here. I think my love of Aaron might have to die or something. I don't know. Yeah.
That moment when you realize that to be an expert in Chinese League of Legends, you have to be an expert in Korean.
Oh yeah, man.
Late
We've had a lot of homework to do. Don't worry about that one.
It's like,
It's been fun.
Lost all my qualifications.
just like that.
Yeah. So we covered those.
The last thing is Demacia Cup.
Were we going to
covered
touch
Spirit.
up on like the Ackerman versus Kola thing, or is that something we're just passing over? Because I don't know. Like, I personally feel like it's a downgrade. I think Kola's been improving
Okay.
quickly. I feel like Kola's had better playoff performances as well. Worlds, or I guess like important performances compared to Ackerman.
I feel like Cola's gone like this, and Ackerman's gone like
Yeah,
this.
because he's not he's not like godlike on Renekton or anything like that, like he was last year, and even then it wasn't like he wasn't the best Renekton player or anything like that. So Ackerman, like I don't know, NA playoffs really dropped the ball, did okay at Worlds, but then I don't know, I felt
But he
like
dropped the ball at Worlds too.
Yeah, I mean it was better than playoffs because playoffs was like a train wreck between him and the jungle. So no name. So. Yeah, and Cola actually did pretty well and held up pretty well, I feel, at Worlds, comparatively to his LPL performance.
I did see Cola making like steady improvements after Jackson Shyvana was nerfed, but I don't think he really showed up. Like his performance at Worlds was really surprising to me. So
Yeah.
there's that. Yeah. But the other thing I just want to reiterate, I don't want to get into too hard on the Cola Ackerman comparison because I personally don't think Ackerman's going to be on the starting lineup. So.
Okay. So
it's like translation for I know something you don't, fuckers.
Oh, God. Come on, Kelsey, give us.
I think he's going to be on an LSPL team, so I don't know.
Right.
Okay.
I think it just comes to my opinion that I think Godlike's a little better. It just comes down to the competition and top laners in which they faced in their own regions, and I felt like Cola had faced. I wouldn't say like I don't think the top laner pool in China was all too good. Like once you get past Koro.
What?
Well, I mean, like not good. I'm not. I'm
Dude,
just
come on, going in Koro alone, like
I know what.
I don't know, man. I can't agree with you here, but I'll let you finish.
Going is in that region.
But I mean,
but
that's
the pool.
The pool, the entirety of the
even
LPL
Koro though.
It's kind of like the same
compared
thing
to NA,
where
really?
we talk about the support pool in Korea is actually, I don't think, not that deep. They have like Mata and Gorilla, and yeah, I mean, then
the
it kind
Flamerino
of
is going to
drops
be real
off.
right now.
The first comment's going to be in this thread.
I'm sorry that I feel that way, but I actually I obviously no one is as good as Mata. Like I'm not denying that, but I think it's very similar in terms of LPL's top laners, except this will probably change because we are getting like these extremely talented additions from LPL.
Number one, Khan was really good.
Hasn't been
Cool,
good.
Youngsu.
Khan has been like I don't know.
Or not cool. I mean,
really good games in
Youngsu.
LPL. I feel.
Koro, Youngsu. Sorry, that's what I was
but
saying.
he disappointed me so much in like
laner.
LPL expansion.
A lot of the top players in China, like kind
I don't
of
know,
disappointed me. It's just like, and then you had
What did you have in NA?
Yeah, but okay, no, in NA you had.
Well, Dyrus,
I'm not
Balls.
comparing their top lane pool to NA.
No,
I'm just like saying general.
I'm making that comparison.
Competition to China's pool of competition.
Oh, I missed
Balls,
that.
Quas.
What?
Balls and Quas are both good. So is Dyrus.
Who else are we
But
throw up there? Okay,
Quas,
Dyrus.
Dyrus, Balls, Zion. Like I'm talking about laning in general.
Yeah.
Of course, as a team play, I feel like NA was was definitely worse. But when it came to individual laning, NA was better, and I'm probably gonna get a lot of flack for that. But I just
yeah, you are, because dude, go going went for over an hour without dying. What the hell? I don't know, man. Like, okay, I guess you can make an argument for both. It's not like one's clearly higher than the others. Like, you can have an opinion and validate it for either one.
Fine.
But
and Ackerman performed extremely well during the season, and then it came to the playoff, and to make kind of like an excuse for their playoff performance, they had a lot of organizational issues, their coach went out, and of course, like when
Starhorn World Cup doesn't speak the same language.
yeah, okay. Here's the problem I have. It's like, okay, yeah, like they have opposite issues. Ackerman didn't show up at playoffs and did well in the regular season, and it was the vice versa for Cola, really.
Mm-hmm.
Cola showed up at Worlds but didn't play well in LPL. Like, he didn't play well in LPL playoffs either, so I'll say that. But
he played okay, actually. Like, he actually won a couple of his lanes against GoGoing and stuff. Like, he did okay in LPL playoffs.
Cola did really well in playoffs, but it just came off of the fact that I felt like when Godlike played Rumble, he was bad, but anything else was. Yeah.
For me, though, the thing about Cola is I feel like he's had a steady improvement, whereas I feel like Ackerman is like kind of off and on.
Ackerman's like had his glory days too. I mean, he was in the season 3 World Championship, and like,
and
we know what happens when teams go to finals. Like, you know, except for Uzi, apparently, he just doesn't actually stagger off. He just gets the buff again over and over.
But and I will say that claim about laning is valid because I feel like just now are we getting like top laners who are like rejoining the 1v1 kind of mentality after a while. Like PDD was almost like the last of the top lane carries in China, but then, except for Go-Going, but then like, I don't know. I think the meta is very different. If we're talking about team fighting top laners, I think NA doesn't have very many good team fighting top laners, and China has much better team fighting top laners. But I do think there is like merit to the claim that there are better laning top laners in NA, or more laning top laners at least.
I'm just seeing base races flash before my eyes.
Yeah,
And
again,
the inability
like,
to control minion waves.
like that's the thing. Like we're talking.
Yeah, but
he's
Gagoing
talking
is a
about the early
standout
laning
player from
players,
China
so-
as well. So if we're talking just about pool, like obviously Gagoing trumps all of them, but I guess like you could make a case for NA players when you consider just like the depth of the pool rather than like the peak.
And I do, yeah. Again, I'm curious to see if this does change with like Sky and Carrie and
Oh,
Flandre.
Yeah, that's another thing. Is
Yeah.
Joining
the
uphill.
the top lane talent is going to be huge this year.
and by the way, Sky's performance in the finals against Starhorn Royal Club was so damn good, even though he didn't have like the KDA, obviously. But that's just how Lissandra is.
I've
He
never
went in
actually
there,
seen
he
him play
created
badly.
He's played so well, and I remember there was one moment that like comes across to me during their game against Starhorn Royal Club. I think this was the final game, in which like of course Korn, who was playing phenomenally that game and throughout the entire season. I think Korn is I've really has really grown on me. He queues up a shockwave, like at the same time like Sky flashes towards him like to avoid the shockwave and then to stun the entirety of the Starhorn Royal Club team and just like put out his damage output and then like his team just came in. You have to watch it. I'm pretty bad at explaining things, obviously, but like he's
good, yeah.
He's a consistent player.
What an excellent trait to have in our caster.
Hey, it's okay.
Zero. Demacia Cup.
I'm sorry, a public apology. We are not able to cast the quarterfinals and semifinals in English for you guys.
And we're done.
We
We
will
will be
bring,
casting the finals, though.
we will bring the best quality broadcast for the third and fourth place match in the finals. Frostgren might not be casting that, but we'll probably have Chris the Man.
Raz, are you free on the 14th?
I mean, Chris the Man has agreed to do the 13th. And then
Schedule.
not quite sure who we're going to have on play-by-play yet, but we'll get back to you. It'll be a good one, though. We'll have a good play-by-play caster. We'll have Chris the Man, who's a good color caster. And we'll have like a good broadcast for the 13th and the third, fourth place matches in the finals, and it should be pretty hype. Maybe EDG will win yet another title because they won NESO also recently. Yeah.
The teams remaining are Starhorn Royal Club, Hong Kong Club, Energy Pacemaker, EDG,
Energy Pacemaker carries meta.
Oh, yeah,
Energy
carries,
Pacemaker
carries.
carries, EDG.
Return of the
I'm
Super
missing
Cat.
two.
I think
Snake
Snake.
Q. Yeah, Snake.
Snake.
World League
Snake.
Academy?
No.
No, I think they got eliminated by OMG. I'm not sure. Maybe. It's,
World League Academy.
But I think the first night is Starhorn Royal Club versus.
versus Energy Pacemaker carries.
Yeah.
And then it's EDG versus Hangong also. By the way, EPC and Hangong are technically already disbanded, but they agreed that they want to play the tournament. So that should be interesting.
Well, it's Chronic Jace bottom lane.
I'm ready for the troll lane.
yeah,
man.
and it's
Sign me up.
okay. So World Elite Academy is still in. It's World Elite versus Snake Q, and OMG versus World Elite Academy on the second night. Third night should be the two semifinals matches, and then the finals are the 13th and
It's
the third
two
place.
best of fives a night.
Yeah, two best of fives a night. So tonight is the
It's a pretty hefty cash prize too. It's like $115,000.
yeah, it's pretty good.
It's huge, yeah.
Yeah, it's
It's pretty
massive.
good.
It's
It
pretty
started
good.
with 64 teams, I believe, something like a ridiculous number of teams back in
Oh, God, yeah.
August. No, July. And
Yeah,
then
it
of course
started
it had the break for the worlds and qualifiers and things like that, and now it's coming back for the finals. We're coming into the round of 8. It's been a
And this
really good
is-
tournament. The production value is really high on it.
Well, the leading up to the round of 8, it's been an online tournament. So, but it should be land phase for the round of 8 onward. So it should be pretty good. Like the production value actually wasn't that great for the first several games, it was just like a few guys on a desk. Like that's what it was. And it was a pretty desk. And they had like nice logos and they had like some cool ads. But I mean, it wasn't super high value.
I like how the ads define the Chinese streams now.
There's that great. It's only on the Demacia Cup stream that they have the ad about the guy who keeps dying over and over, like throughout pieces of time. You've seen this one, yeah? Where and his buddy always like executes him because he does something that he doesn't like, and they're like playing League of Legends together. It gets me every time. I have no idea what's going on, but I think it's
Either
adorable.
that's so confusing. Like, what is this? Why does this lead up to this?
No, I think
Depends.
that's it. Do you guys want to talk about anything else?
Can I cry about OMG some more?
Nope.
We're trying to like, we're trying to be optimistic about that on Jiyoung, but it's just like not happening, man. Jiyoung, you can make a case for though.
I feel
but-
this way, but again, like last spring we had Young and like Pomelo in the mid jungle again, and I was just like, oh, this is gonna be painful. But they actually
yeah.
did really well.
I'm just
so I don't
confident.
know.
I'm confident that OMG will fail. Like I like
But then
every passing day.
They've
I'm
had
like,
they had
Anytime-
Sika as a coach then too, so that's the thing. Like Sika was a pretty good coach.
Anytime someone says OMG is going to fail, though, they do incredibly well. And anytime
Sika's
someone
just
says,
like,
You just need to hate
can
on
we
them
just
more.
talk about how talented Sika is? Like, he's good at absolutely everything he's done in terms of League of Legends esports. He's a good caster. He's a good support. I don't know.
Name
if he's a good
Sika,
caster,
still
to
my
be
favorite
honest,
lane.
but everyone says he's a good caster, so I believe them because I don't speak Chinese. But he's supposedly a good caster. He's a good support player. I was like really, really impressed by how he was able to get OMG to adapt to their situation as the coach during the time when he coached OMG in spring 2013. It was just like, wow, this guy so talented. And then OMG pretty much like burned him in esports when they put him on Positive Energy and didn't pay him. Like, not OMG, but Positive Energy I guess is technically segregated. They're not, okay, someone clarified that they're not like really technically owned by the same or controlled by the same management, so it wasn't necessarily OMG's fault. But they apparently like burned him, I don't know, and he doesn't really want to do anything to do with esports really anymore, I don't think, which is sad. He's apparently good at everything.
He's pretty much the best person alive. Right?
So, and also Name's best friend. Like, Name didn't perform because his like heart is breaking.
That's it. That's why he didn't perform. Now we know.
We found
God
it,
damn,
guys.
food poisoning and heartbreak, man. They do not go well together.
That
the
is a
organization
deadly
tried
combination.
to put it off as food poisoning. What really happened is he was in the hospital because of a broken heart. That's what happened.
Aw, man,
No,
that
but
was my
apparently
favorite bot lane,
everything that's
though.
true about the Love Lane Cool friendship is also true of the Name Sika friendship, so it's cute.
That's the support that
Adorable.
Name won
So
LPL with on
adorable.
Positive Energy, so people
Yep.
aren't confused.
you
Is
mean
there anything
the
else?
bot lane that carried Positive Energy
Yes,
to a championship?
hard
bottom lane.
carried. Oh my god,
I
hard
think
carried.
we're so romanticized about Name Sika bot lane and like GA in the jungle, and we're just like,
Okay.
and then we remember that Aluka and JoJo were on that team.
nope.
Oh,
Nope. We're
God,
gonna
yeah.
talk about shoutouts.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
I think
shoutouts.
we need-
I don't know if we're doing any questions or if there's any good questions. in
Oh,
chat.
if
I don't have a
anyone
window
if
up.
they have questions.
I don't
my
have a
goodness.
window up, so
Does
if
anyone
not,
have
then
chat?
we can do shoutouts while the questions go, like we did last time. I think that's the best
Oh.
way to do it.
Okay.
So
Go.
go. Okay.
I
Yeah.
had to stretch my
Oh,
spine.
I'm just gonna do this. I'm just gonna do the same one. You know, shout out to the panelists, Esports Heaven, and everyone for tuning in. Make sure to tune into LPLEN. We'll always say ahead of time if there's gonna be a broadcast. So
I'll try to get like more stuff up and running, like in a little by the season, like a Facebook page is what I'd like, maybe a website if I can swing it. But there should be like better ways to get information on LPLEN in the future. But yeah, like for now, this is what's happening. 2015, the dream, guys.
I believe we had
but-
huge growth last year, like insane growth.
Yeah.
The issue is that we had to reauthorize everything. So if people are wondering like what's taking so long, it's we have to
Yeah,
reauthorize
we might-
the use of the Tournament Realm client.
Unfortunately, we might not even have tournament run for the finals, but I still think like the most important thing about an English broadcast is the information and the quality of the casting. And pretty graphics,
Yay!
which
Sparkle.
Froskarin has provided for the.
Those are pretty cool. They also have pretty good soundtracks most of the
I
time.
remade them.
Yeah, she already made the pretty graphics for the Demacia Cup finals. Yeah, so that'll be there. Shoutouts, my shoutouts. Please follow the Inside Chinese Law Twitter. It's very nice. It prevents me from having to do my job.
I know, right? It's like, well, I guess I'm not going to write articles anymore. This guy just tweets everything.
I guess I'm not going to write a news post about this then, because the tweet is out. But no, very good information, very nice guy.
Yep.
Also, please, thank you to my main man, Fondly, as always. And thank you to the panelists. Thank you to On Gamers and LLEsports.com. Yes.
Raz,
Oh god, it's already me. I forgot. All right, so
one job.
Thank
Can
you.
we just write this for him? Like,
Raz,
we need
Raz,
to.
who sponsors you?
Razor of Zubu. Okay, no. I'll just go with the good old soldier sponsorship. Then you have Team Reasony. Pretty sure. Yeah, Team Reasony for hitting me up with the knowledge on Twitter, just correcting me with the whole Choi / yeah.
Which is technically my fault anyway.
It's okay. I took a bullet for you there. It's so yeah. There's that. I'll stick it with that. I think that was decent.
Oh my god, dude, please. Your shoutouts. They're painful.
Did you remember Esportspedia this time?
No,
he didn't.
you did not.
It's down there. It's down there. Esportspedia. The best
It's down there.
one. Yeah.
It's down
That's
there.
gonna be a thing. Players do an interview. It's like it's on my arm. Like, duh.
Shout out to Esportspedia. They're a really, really good website for information, just general information. It's really nice. So check it out. I do need to write this. I'm gonna write it right after this, just in case.
You should do like a memento thing, like tattoo it on your arm.
Hey, I'm just saying right now, if you see Hugo in the next episode, you know why. You know why? Because I just fail at life.
Well, it's my turn. I'm going to go ahead and also thank our lovely panelists. I always love talking to Elements. Have you seen that picture, Drexen, where it shows that guy that looks exactly like you, and it even looks like he's in your room in the bottom left corner? I think it was on Richard Lewis's show. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh my god.
Oh my
the
god.
Photoshops.
That tripped me up so hard. I was like, Drexen is on that show? No. It was bizarre. Next week's China Talk. I may or may not be on it, depending on schedule. Yes? It's next Sunday, yeah?
I mean, and the other thing is that we probably can't get Pyra to host it either, because he'll be casting.
We will see who will be hosting. Cubo may be making a return.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because I leave for Shanghai. I have to announce this sometimes. I leave for Shanghai tomorrow.
Oh my god. Alright,
Yeah.
I actually don't have any celebratory things. I really don't.
Man,
I'm
there's some
not
guy
celebrating
on.
that you're leaving, I'm celebrating for you.
There was someone on
okay.
Twitter that
I'm
was offering to
celebrating that
translate.
she's leaving. Good God. Okay.
Are we done? Our
Yep, we're done.
We
Wait.
need to work on these closings, guys. Okay. Bye.